Everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be starting yet another reading vlog, and I'm very excited about it because I'm going to be reading some of my favorite kinds of books in this vlog. Late September to early October is my favorite time of year to dive into some supernatural, spooky kind of romance books, so obviously that's what I'm going to be doing today. I have some new release books that I'm really excited to get to, as well as some old favorites that I'm just going to be giving a reread. So let me jump into talking about my TBR. Here's kind of the state of things for this vlog, and then we'll get into it. So let me start out with the newer released books. First of all, I have Road Trip with a Vampire by Jenna Levine. This is kind of like the third book in a vampire-y companion series that I've been reading over the last couple of years. In this one specifically, it says we're following a vampire who can't remember his own past and a witch with some secrets. And they are going on a cross-country road trip, and it's a rom-com. So I feel like this is gonna be just absolutely ridiculous, but I love an absolutely ridiculous, spooky romance book, so very excited to jump into this one. Then I have one that I am very unsure on. I don't really know how I'm gonna feel about this book. It doesn't exactly include a supernatural creature that I particularly enjoy reading about. But the concept of this book was too good for me to pass up, so I have Fan Service by Rosie Danan. This one, I believe we're following a main character who was really obsessed with this kind of supernatural TV show when she was a teenager. And through some turns of events later in life, she ends up helping the main actor of that TV show as he is presumably transforming into a werewolf. So I am not the biggest werewolf fan. Granted, I haven't read that many werewolf books, but as a supernatural entity, they don't really do a whole lot for me. But I love the concept of our main character who was so entrenched in this fandom, somehow having to help out the main character of this show that she was really obsessed with. I just think it sounds like it's gonna be a really fun time. I think it also, you know, like has a lot to say about fandom culture, which I think could be very interesting as well. And I cannot wait to get into this one and see what I think about it. I'm probably going to be starting with this one today because I do need to turn this back into the library ASAP. So I will be jumping into this one and seeing how it goes. Then for my last newer release book, I do have an ebook that I'm going to be reading. I don't read a ton of ebooks, but this is like only available as an ebook. So I'm going to be reading the new Ali Hazelwood short story called Hot for Slayer. This is a part of like one of those like Amazon short story collections that they have a bunch of authors do. I looked at the other ones that are in the collection. None of them interest me, but this one sounded it sounded fun in like the Ali Hazelwood kind of way, you know what I mean? And I think in this one we're following a vampire slayer who loses their memories. So a lot of amnesia happening in these books, which is an odd theme, but we're following a slayer who has lost their memories and a vampire who is helping them out somehow. So very into that. I mean, it's called Hot for Slayer. I feel like it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be a good time. So I'm going to be reading that on my Kindle. So that's going to be happening. So these are the three books that I'm going to be focusing on finishing in this vlog. I'd very much like to finish these up. The other two kind of just more so fit the theme. I'm not planning to probably finish either of these, but they are books that I would like to also read throughout the week. Obviously, I have my reread of The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. I have read this book 4 times now, and I'm about to read it a fifth. I feel like I have a lot of books that I like to reread every single year about this time, but this may be the one that I would be the most upset if I didn't get around to rereading. This is obviously a witchy, spooky romance following our main character Vivi, who ends up potentially maybe putting a curse on her boyfriend when she was 19. And 10 years later, maybe, he's back in town and acting like he's cursed. Gasp, shock, I know. And I'm really excited to just reread it. It's just like the perfect autumnal witchy romance book. I love it so dearly. Obviously, I wouldn't read it 5 times if I didn't love it dearly, so I'm gonna be probably listening to this on audio. I do have the audiobook. I'll probably just listen to this throughout the week. So this will be happening. And then in my last vlog, I did mention that I reread the first chapter of Twilight, and I might read a little bit more of it. I don't know. I haven't reread Twilight in about 3 years, so feel like I might reread a little bit. Again, I don't know if I'm gonna like reread the whole book, because honestly, once you get to like the whole James, what's her name, Victoria kind of situation, I'm like kind of checking out a little bit. But the first part, I kind of want to reread the first part for the vibes. obviously. Also, I'm so excited. This is related, but also unrelated, but like it explains why I'm thinking about doing a reread. They're showing the first couple of Twilight movies in theaters this year, so I'm finally getting the opportunity to go see Twilight in theaters. I've only ever watched it at home because I didn't go see it when it was released. I was like 8, and my parents were not gonna go take me to see like a teen vampire romance movie when I was like 8. But the time has finally come that I get to experience Twilight on the big screen, so I'm like, reread before? Maybe. So here are the 5 books that I'm going to be focusing on in this vlog. Again, I don't think I'm going to be finishing all 5 of these. My goal is probably 4. I'll probably read these 3 and then my ebook, obviously. Probably not gonna finish Twilight, but that's what we're looking at for the week. I am so excited. I'm so excited. So there's the TBR. What else am I doing? I don't know, honestly. I do have quite a big Hobonichi update that I would like to do at some point this week. I have been meaning to backfill the last 3 weeks for a while because I don't want to miss out on, you know, like chronicling the fall time. So I have all the pictures and stuff collected and ready to print. I just haven't done it yet. So I'll be doing that at some point throughout the week. What else I'm gonna get up to? I don't know. I might do a little bit more decorating because it's currently the 29th of September, I believe. So I do have some like Halloween decorations that I want to put up on the 1st of October. But aside from that, I guess we'll just see what else I get up to. But as I said, I'm going to be starting with some reading today. I'm going to be starting with fan service. Very interested to see what I think of this book, but I think it'll be fun. So let's just get on into it. I really hope you guys enjoy the vlog, and I will talk to you guys later. It is later in the day, and I am back with a reading update on fan service. It's happening. It's happening. I am on page 160, and I'm gonna finish it. It's such a fast read. I'm flying through it, honestly, and there are definitely a lot of things about it that I like. But this male main character gets on my damn nerves. I understand on some levels where he's coming from, but also he is 42 years old and he acts like he's about 16 and is driving me up a wall, honestly. But we'll get there, we'll get there. Let me tell you like what's going on in this book. But let me tell you some things I like about it too, and then we'll get into my gripes with Devin. But in this book, we're following our main character, Alex, and she used to be a huge fan of this show called The Arcane Files on the TW. which I think is so funny. And the beginning of this book starts with like a flashback to her meeting our main character Devin at like this Comic-Con kind of thing. And turns out he's low-key kind of an asshole. And you'd be shocked to know that 17 years later, he's still kind of an asshole. Again, we'll get there. But then we kind of flip to present day where we are following Devin. Unfortunately, it's dual POV, and sometimes that really works. Most of the time for me, it does not really work. But we see Devin, he's kind of down on his luck. The Arcane Files TV show ended like, I don't know, 7 years ago or something. And he hasn't really been able to find any substantial work since. And not only is he a depressed, down on his luck, divorced 42-year-old man, he's also concerned he might be starting to turn into a werewolf, much like his character on the show, The Arcane Files. So he's freaking out. He's trying to figure out what's going on. He pulls a Bella Swan and he starts like researching stuff on the internet about werewolves. Also, Daisy is here and I must let her in, hang on. And he ends up finding this online archive that was completely dedicated to the Arcane Files. It has like just copious amounts of knowledge about the show, about the lore of the show, which involves werewolves. So he contacts the person that put together this online archive like 17 years ago. And he's like, hey, you seem to know a lot about like werewolves and stuff. Will you help me? Obviously enter our other main character, Alex, who was a huge, huge fan of the show. She was like entrenched in the fandom, like deep stuff, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how our two main characters come into contact with each other. I think it's really funny that she is a veterinarian. So she's like slightly equipped to help him with all the werewolfing things going on. But I really like the fandom aspect to this book, and it's the main reason why I want to keep reading, because I think the way it's depicted is just so true, honestly. I have been, you know, a part of many a fandom. Not quite to the extent that Alex has, but you know, I've been in the trenches for certain things. And I really like the fact that our main character is much older than she was when she was very into this thing, and kind of seeing her reflect on it and just look back on it with fondness. I really enjoy. Here's where like my problems come into this book though. I deeply dislike, well, maybe not deeply. Deeply is like a harsh word. But I really don't like Devin. I love Alex. I think she's great. I think she's so fun. I love her demeanor. She's very blunt, to the point, not putting up with Devin's BS. But Devin is so annoying, honestly. He's also, like I said earlier, an asshole. At one point, he compared hanging out with Alex publicly to a Make-A-Wish, like, situation. And I was like, absolutely no words. He's also said some other unhinged things that I simply cannot forgive him for. There's mainly one that I'm thinking about that has to do with the kind of shampoo Alex uses. Jail for that man. Like, you can tell me it's because he's a werewolf and he's like super horny all the time, but I simply do not care because I want to bleach my eyes after reading some of the things that this man says. I simply cannot, honestly. And I understand that some of the things that he's doing are like, you know, character growth should theoretically be happening. Obviously, he's gonna start off as this like, you know, out of touch, rich asshole kind of guy, and maybe by the end of the book, he's gonna just be like so great, whatever. But I don't really know if you can come back from some of the things that he says. And I just don't know how the romance is gonna go. I'm interested to see how it's gonna go. I just think the dynamic between them is so interesting, especially because she used to love, like, you know, his character on the show. You can definitely see that she finds him very attractive, but I just think the whole dynamic of her like being very enthralled with his character in the show and loving who that character was and what that character was doing, seeing her meeting him and realizing what he's actually like, it's kind of a big like, oh, like, you know, you aren't really acting the same way, you know, like, obviously. It's honestly kind of like a never meet your heroes kind of thing, because Devin would be so disappointed. Me and that man just have beef right now. I mean, like, he could come back from this, like, he could stop irritating me. My money's on no. But, you know, it could happen. Never say never. One thing I do really like about this book, though, is learning more about the show. It very much reads like a typical, you know, like, teen supernatural show. And I love a typical teen supernatural show. Very much like Supernatural, Vampire Diaries kind of vibes going on. I think in the show, Devin's character was like a werewolf detective. And apparently there was also was he a vampire in the show? I think there were also like vampires in the show as well that like played a big role. And I love learning more about the show itself, because there are pages throughout this book that give you more information. There are like pages from the archive that Alex set up all those years ago that give you like a little bit of, you know, info about the show, which I think is very interesting. I also like how the show is being involved with the werewolfing that's going on. It makes all of the information that you are getting about the show very, you know, like necessary and relevant to what's going on, and I just think it's tied in a really cool way. So I like just about everything about this book aside from Devin. That's my main issue, it's just Devin, honestly. But I'm definitely gonna be reading a lot more of this tonight, probably. I think I also would like to read Hot for Slayer tonight, or start it at least. I think it's like 90 pages. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it or not, but unfortunately my Kindle is currently on the dreaded low battery, and I have no idea where my charger is. I use my Kindle so infrequently, I never have the charger ready and raring to go, so I need to like locate that. And then I'm gonna charge my Kindle, and then maybe I'll read Hot for Slayer. I'm really excited to get into this one too. Those are kind of my plans for the rest of the night. I think tomorrow morning I'm gonna do my Hobonichi update. I'm ready. I've got it all ready to go. I'm gonna backfill. It's gonna be great. That's my update. That's my first update for this book. It is going, you know, despite what I've said, I'd say it's going well. It's fun, you know, like it's a fun time. And I feel like it's going to continue to be very fun now that we've like gotten further in to everything that's going on. We're like unlocking some things that are going on with the like supernatural elements, which is obviously what I'm here for. So I will see you guys, I don't know, like tomorrow, the next day, sometime soon, with an update on this and whatever else I happen to read. update, but Daisy is a little bit too interested in the camera. Aren't you? What are you doing? Are you gonna... Well, where are you going? It's not crazy time. Actually, it's always crazy time with her. Anyway, hello. It is the next day? Day after? I don't know what day it is. I am back with an update. Yes, I have some reading updates for you. Let us chat about them. I also have a gaming update for you. Very fun, I know. So let me go ahead and talk about the 2 books that I have finished since the last time that I talked to you. It's not as impressive as it sounds though, so don't get too excited. But my hold for a book came in from the library. I have not like shown you guys this yet, but I decided to go ahead and read Autumn Story by Jill Barklam. This is the Autumn Brambley Hedge book. It is, you know, like just a little guy. And it is basically the entire story from the puzzle. Like if you ever want to read a Brambley Hedge book, but like not actually read a Brambley Hedge book, just do the Brambley Hedge puzzles because they are all like the same illustrations, all the same text on it. I love these books so much. They're so freaking cute. And I love my time reading this. It was obviously a very fast read because it is meant for small children, but it's just so cute. I love the Brambley Hedge art style so much, and I enjoyed being able to just look at it for a little bit longer. So yeah, I'll probably pick up like the winter one in winter, spring, summer, so on and so forth. But I wanted to read the autumn one, and it was so lovely, honestly, so I won't talk too much about that, but I wanted to let you know that I did read that. But then I have finished a different book because I also read the entirety of The X-Hex yesterday, and it was so good. I love my time reading it so much. Was this my 5th read? Yeah, and honestly, it was about just as good as it was the first time. I love this book so much. I listened to the entirety of it on audio yesterday while I was playing a Switch game. I've played so much of this new Switch game that I got for my birthday recently. So I wanted to take the opportunity to just have a lovely last day of September and listen to my audiobook while playing Super Mario Galaxy. My brother got me like the Super Mario 3D All-Stars thing for my Switch. They don't sell this anymore, I don't think. I think they sold it for a very limited time, but I've been meaning to like find a secondhand copy so I can play all 3 of these games, and I've been absolutely loving Super Mario Galaxy. I watched my brother play a bunch of this game when we were younger because as, you know, a younger sister, I spent a lot of time watching my brothers play video games. They wouldn't let me play, but I was always there, and I loved it then, but being able to like actually play it myself has been so much fun. I love it so much. It's just such a great game, honestly, and I've been flying through it. I think I'm at like 55 stars maybe, so and that's not even within a week. I've been playing way too much of it. But I've been having a great time. I love Super Mario Galaxy, but I'm also really excited to try out Super Mario Sunshine when I decide I'm bored of Super Mario Galaxy. And I have played Super Mario 64 on my DS before, but this is kind of like the older looking graphics from the N64, maybe? I played a little bit of it. It's very nostalgic feeling, so I'm excited to just be able to play like all 3 of these, and I'm so happy that I finally have this, so. Did you guys want a gaming update? I don't know, but I want to let you know that Super Mario Galaxy has been taking over my life just like slightly, but I'm having a great time. But as for The X-Hex, as I said, I read the entirety of this book yesterday, and I just love everything about this book. It is seriously like the perfect Halloween rom-com. Oh, it was so good. This is like my favorite, one of the only romance books that I reread. Have I ever reread another romance book? I don't really know that I have, but like The X-Hex is just like a part of me at this point, honestly. I absolutely fell in love with it the first time that I read it, and I have just loved every single reread since. I love Reese and Vivi so much. Their dynamic is just perfect, honestly. He's like the right amount of annoying. I love an annoying man in a book, but sometimes, not to name names, they get like a little bit too annoying, but I feel like Reese is like the right amount where like he'll push her buttons. He'll be like a little bit grating at times, but like he pulls it back at the right moment, and like he's serious at the right moments. So it's just like so good. I also love the Halloween atmosphere in this book so much. Vivi works at the university there, so you get like this university atmosphere with it, which I love. I also just have like, you know, I love the book obviously, but I just have like great associations with the book. When I first read this, I was in my junior year of undergrad maybe, and I would like listen to the audiobook as I was walking around campus like in the fall. It was like mid-October when I read it, I think. Every time I listen to the audiobook now, I like am so transported into those moments, so like that's just a personal thing as to like why I love this book so much. And I just love it so dearly. I know some people don't like this book and it hurts me, but I am a ride or die for the XX. It's just so much fun. It's so good. There's also a talking cat named Mr. Percival. Speaking of cats being annoying, sorry if the camera just like moved. Daisy is doing whatever Daisy does right now. There's a talking cat whose name is Mr. Percival. He's like always asking for treats. He's always calling Reese mean names and it's very funny. Also, speaking of talking cats, I did start rewatching Sabrina the Teenage Witch recently, which has also been so fun. I love that show so much. I watched it a couple times through now, I think. So I'm making my way through that, making my way through the atrocious puppet that they had for Salem in season 1. He looks so ugly. Like, he gets so much better in the later seasons, but like, he looks so funny in the first season. But I still love him, and he's still an icon. And I feel like I'm just consuming so much good media right now. Like, games, TV shows, books. Big fan of all that, so. But yeah, the XX, absolutely loved it. I will be spending some time today looking through my annotations because, as I said, I listened to this on audio, but I did annotate this the second time that I read it, so I'm gonna like look through those and just, you know, like re-experience it again, as if I haven't experienced this book enough. But there's the XX. Absolutely love it. But aside from those couple of updates, I do also have an update on fan service. I have not finished it yet, but I'm going to be finishing it today. I'm on page 304. So I have like 100 pages left, and you know, I must say, it's getting better. Despite my jab at Devin earlier, he's getting on my nerves less. I still don't really like him that much, honestly. Like, he is bottom tier. Now she wants out, hang on. He's very much a bottom tier love interest for me personally, but you know, over the last 100 or so pages since I talked to you, you know, they've had some heart-to-heart moments. They've kind of opened up to each other. They've shared some trauma with each other. And I'm like, that's all well and good. He seems really understanding, that's all fine, whatever. I just still don't really like him that much. And I don't really like the romance that much. I don't know, like, it's getting better. I wouldn't say I, like, thoroughly enjoy it though. I mean, I'm having a good time with the book. I think it's fun. I like most of the werewolf things that are going on, aside from when Devin is like just constantly sniffing Alex. I'm like, I get it's a werewolf thing. But like, it's so weird. And I know that's the point, but like, this is why I don't read werewolf books. Because for the most part, you know, like, it just doesn't do anything for me. I'm like, I don't know about that. I am just a vampire girly in my soul, you know what I mean? Like, everything with vampires, I'm like, yeah, thank you, yes. Werewolves, it's like too close to them being dogs. I'm like, oh, I don't know, like, it's too animal for my personal liking. It's still a fun time though. I just feel like there are moments in the book, like too many of them honestly, when I'll be like reading it and I'll have to like set it down and audibly sigh because like some of the things that they say are so stupid. This book is very funny at points though. Devin was absolutely humbled at one point last night and it did crack me up because he was hanging out with Alex at this like volunteer thing that she was doing. Alex is very devoted to this like community center that's in the area and she's been trying to get funding for it. So Devin decided to go along and help out with what she was doing at this community center one day, which by the way, I do really like that Alex has this like passion project almost going on and keeping this community center available for like the marginalized people of this community, because this is set in this very rich white town who obviously like doesn't really care a lot about it. So I just really enjoy seeing how much Alex cares about this community center and the work that she's willing to put in to keep it going. I love that aspect of this book. But anyway, that's not the point. I mean, like, it is a point, but it's not the point that I'm trying to make. But Devin went along to like help out with some stuff that was going on, and he was hanging out with Alex's like high school, she's kind of like a mentor to this person, I suppose. And they were talking to Devin, and at one point he asked Rowan, who's like the high schooler, he was like, you think she's avoiding me because she likes me? And Roman said, I don't pretend to understand the mating rituals of millennials. And he said, actually, I'm Gen X. And Rowan said, never heard of it. I was like, oh my God, imagine being humbled by like a 16-year-old. Because he's that old. I mean, like, 42 isn't that old, but like, in the context of this book, it's just so funny. But I'm interested to see how the last 100 pages of this book is going to go. There is kind of like a time limit on how long Devin is gonna be in this area because he has to go to like this celebrity baseball game or something that happens to be on the full moon or whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay. It's very fun. Can I find another word to describe this book? I don't know. It's not my favorite thing. Like, would I, you know, be like, oh my God, you're like, you guys need to read this? No, actually I'd recommend with, you know, some trepidation, honestly. But it's entertaining enough. Me and Mackenzie also are buddy reading this book. I told her a couple days ago, like, I'm gonna read this book, and she was like, oh my god, I have that book. And I was like, let's read it together. I think she's about halfway through it, and she's also really enjoying it, even though it is a lot at some points, but we're both liking it. It's a good time. So planned for today is gonna be to finish up this book and then jump into Road Trip with the Vampire, which I cannot wait for. Also, I still have not been able to find my Kindle charger. So Hot for Slayer has not happened yet, but soon. It will happen soon. But I think Road Trip with the Vampire is going to happen sooner. But yeah, I feel like those are all the updates. This ended up being a longer update than I was expecting it to. But yeah, just want to give you guys some reading updates, tell you what I've been up to. Today is the first day of October, which has been so nice. I watched a couple episodes of Over the Garden Wall this morning. I was gonna say I love it, but I think you guys probably know that at this point. What else I'm gonna get up to today? I don't know. A lot of reading for sure. So I will see you guys later with an update. Oh, you're so cute. Do you mind? Hello, good morning. It is a couple days later. And I'm back with some updates because I finished a book, I have started a book, so obviously we need to chat about what's going on. First of all, let me give you my final thoughts on fan service because I did finish it up. And, you know, I think I really do like so many things about this book, but I didn't really care for the romance, honestly. And it isn't even just the fact that I have beef with Devin, even though I have less beef with him now, but like I still don't really like him that much. He's a himbo, but like in a bad way. I feel like there's you know, like good himbos in like romance books like this, like himbos that I enjoy. He was just like an annoying himbo, and that's the worst kind, honestly. I don't know, I just didn't really feel the like actual chemistry between these two. I feel like they had good like, you know, sexual tension throughout the book. All of that was fine, but like when it came to like romance, I was like, I don't know if I really like buy it, honestly. I like the fact that she really did get the chance to date the man that she's been, you know, fantasizing about since she was a teenager. I think the wish fulfillment and all of that, I think is very funny, and I like that this book did that. But do I actually feel like they would work that well together? Like, I just don't know, honestly. But I really did enjoy the book. It was really fun. I just didn't really love the romance, you know? Again, though, I did really enjoy the fandom aspect to this book, and seeing Alex have to explain all of these things to Devin, I thought was so funny. It would be, like, mortifying to try and explain these things to somebody. But I really liked the focus on how much this fandom has helped Alex throughout her life. She ended up becoming a fan of the Arcane Files, like the night her mother left her, basically. So she got through the bulk of her teenage years with this show and this fandom just bringing her so much joy that she was definitely kind of lacking in life. So I liked that it was really celebrating those aspects of being a part of fandoms. Obviously, there are also a lot of bad parts that can come along with being in these fandoms, and I think this book semi-touched on those, but I don't really think the point of this book was to critique kind of fandom culture, so I just liked what it was doing in that whole aspect. And again, I really liked learning more about the show. Honestly, if this was actually a show, would watch. It sounds pretty damn entertaining. I'd say if you have been a large part of any fandom, honestly, you should check it out. Anyway, really liked fan service. It was fun. I'm not even that mad that I didn't like the romance because I like the rest of the book so much, like all is well. So, and then I have started another book because I have started Road Trip with the Vampire. I am about 100 or so pages into this book, I believe. And this one is interesting so far. I don't know if I'm gonna like it as much as the other books in the series. Don't get me wrong, I'm really liking it so far. I think it's going to be fun. I like what it's been setting up, but based on certain things that are like happening to our characters throughout this book, I just don't know if I'm gonna like it as much as the others. But I'll talk about it. I'll get there. So in this book, we are following our main character, Zelda, who she's been a witch for like 400 years or something. She stopped aging in her early 30s, and she definitely caused some issues earlier in her life. She has a penchant for, you know, like setting things on fire, basically. And we've been getting news stories from these events where she would just like set things on fire because she could, basically. And I'm like, interesting way to spend your time, but sure. But current day, she's kind of given up her witch life. She doesn't really practice anymore. She doesn't like get involved in all of that anymore. And she runs a yoga studio in Northern California, maybe. And the beginning of this book opens up with her like trying to put this heavy box in a trash can or something. And she's in this back alley and she sees this dude show up. And first she's like, weird vibes, obviously, because like being alone with the man in a back alley, scary times. But you know, he helps her put the box in the trash can. He introduces himself. Apparently his name is Peter, and that's literally all she learns about him until he shows up in the yoga studio the next day, I think, and she realizes that he's a vampire and he doesn't know anything about himself. He realizes he's a vampire. He obviously knows how to do like basic everyday things, but any information about himself, he's got nothing, you know? And I think that's honestly where my main problem with this book stems from, because it's an interesting concept for Zelda and like seeing how she's interacting with it, but like because he has amnesia, Peter doesn't really have much of like a personality. So I'm like, he kind of just feels like this cardboard cutout walking around in this book, not really doing a lot because he doesn't know anything about himself. So I'm like, how am I supposed to like this man if he doesn't know anything about himself? I don't know, it's just an interesting hurdle to overcome in the book. Again, I'm only 100 pages in, so obviously there's room for improvement with that, and I would assume we'll learn more as the book goes on, but like first 100 pages, I'm like, I don't know if I love Peter. I feel like immediately in the other two, I really liked both, what's his name? Frederick, I think. And, you know, Reggie was a lot, but I still really liked Reggie. And Reggie has been mentioned in this book. It got the Reggie cameo. I love him so much. So it turns out Reggie is the one that sent Peter to Zelda so she could like help him figure out what's going on with him. At first she's kind of like, I don't really know if I want to deal with this vampire. Like I've left that behind me. But you know, Peter's really hot. So she's like, you know, a little bit interested on that front. She's also just a decent person and wants to help him out. But she's always talking about how fine this man is. And based on what I'm seeing on the cover, agree. Because again, he just looks like Damon Salvatore. If anybody hasn't guessed, I am Team Damon. If you're Team Stefan, politely leave the video. No, I'm kidding, it's fine. We can all have our wrong opinions, but as the book goes on, Peter starts to get these mysterious notes from somebody, and eventually one of them has an address on it, so obviously he wants to, like, go to this address to see if they know anything about what happened to him. So hence the cross-country road trip. They're going from, like, Northern California to Indiana or something. So I think once we get into the road tripping, it'll be fun. I feel like there's been a lot of setup though. It's taken like 100 pages for us to get into this road trip with said vampire. But I'm excited that we're like finally getting into it, you know, like we're taking off, we're setting out, it's time. I think it's gonna get better. I am enjoying it, but not as much as I was enjoying the other two at this point. But I think it'll, you know, hit its stride soon here. So I'm excited to read some more. I might try and read all of it today. I don't really like have much to do today. So I might go ahead and read a bunch of this. I might also read Hot for Slayer tonight because I finally found my Kindle charger. It can finally happen. So those are kind of like my reading plans for today. As for what else I'm gonna get up to, don't know. I can tell you though, I've watched a couple of movies over the last couple of days and I need to talk about them because I want to try to do this thing in October where I watch a spooky movie every single day. Will that happen? I don't know, but thus far I'm 2 for 2 and I've really liked both of them. On the first day I decided to go with the rewatch and I rewatched Sleepy Hollow, the like, you know, late 90s one. And I love that movie. Honestly, it is so weird. There are just points in the movie that are just so, like, they're so funny. They're not supposed to be funny, but they're so funny. And I just love the vibe of that movie so much. It was such a good way to start October. And then last night I decided to watch Dracula from 1931. It was like I think the first of the Universal Monster movies, maybe? And why was that movie also kind of funny, even though it wasn't supposed to be? I think it's just the special effects of the 30s that were cracking me up. Because there was this, like, bat that kept flying around, obviously, because it's, like, Dracula. And you could so clearly see the string that it was on. It still is making me laugh because it was so funny. It was like that multiple times. They would, like, cut to this shot of this bat in the window, like, creeping on, like, Lucy or Mina or whatever. And you would just, like, see this bat on this string, like, bouncing around. It was so funny. I also loved Bela Lugosi's, like, portrayal of Dracula. It was good, but there were also, like, some of the movements were just so, like, over-exaggerated. And especially some of the editing, there were just, like, some clips that went on too long that were so funny. And I really liked it. I liked it a lot, honestly. I'd really like to watch the, Spanish version of Dracula. I've heard that one's, like, actually really good. But this one was just, like, charming in a way, I guess. I really liked it, and I'm thinking my watch for tonight will be Frankenstein from the same year. I've never seen any of the Universal Monster movies, and I've been meaning to, and they're also not very long, so I feel like they're the perfect kind of movies to intersperse throughout October when I'm trying to, like, watch a movie every single day, like a little, you know, like hour and 10-minute kind of vibe into that, if they do it well, you know. So I'm gonna watch Frankenstein. I'll probably watch some other Universal Monster movies throughout the month as well. So if you have any that you would particularly recommend to me, do let me know. But I'm planning on watching Dracula. I'm maybe gonna watch one involving a mummy. Is there one called The Mummy? I don't know. We'll watch something to do with the mummy. I can tell you that much, so we'll update you on how that continues to go. But yeah, those are my plans for today. Reading, a lot of reading. Gonna watch my movie. Don't know what else I'm gonna do, but we'll just see. We will see. here, and I'm back with some final reading updates. I have very good news and very bad news, and you'll truly never guess which one is which. So, let's talk about it. Okay, so actually let me start with the good news. I want to talk about something fun first. So I finally did read Hot for Slayer by Ali Hazelwood, and it was actually so good. I loved it so much, and I just want her to write like 7 more of these instead of whatever she's been writing recently, because I had such a good time. So basically in this book, to give you like a short summary, because it's not a very long book, so I don't want to like say too much, but you're following our main character Ethel. She has like a longer name. I've tried to pronounce it so many times, but like there are too many like TH sounds in it. I'm just like, how do you even say this? I have no idea. It's like Ethelthrith. I don't know. We're following our main character Ethel, who is an incredibly old vampire. She's not just like, you know, maybe like 100 or 200 years old or something. She's like 1500 years old or something insane. But we're following her, and in the beginning of the book, we're kind of getting a little bit of background on her. We find out like how she became a vampire, what she's been doing with her time. But we also find out that there is this vampire slayer that has been on her case. Of course, Daisy, she wants to come in right now while I'm in the middle of this very important summary. Hang on. You can come up. Come here. Hello. But there's apparently this vampire slayer who's been on her case for like also a really long time. And it's like this vampire's mission to specifically wipe out her bloodline. So she's been kind of recounting some of the experiences that they've had. They've just been at each other's throats for years, honestly. And whenever they see each other, obviously they try to kill each other, but they never actually do. We all know why. But like the whole thing that's happening in this book is that she meets him again. In current day, she's living in like New York or something, and he shows up and they get into a fight. She ends up like pushing him or something, and he hits his head, and suddenly he forgets everything about himself. And oh no, he doesn't know he's this vampire slayer anymore. And she's obviously, you know, not gonna remind him that he's a vampire slayer and she's a vampire. So this whole book is just like her taking him back to her apartment, trying to like help him through this time where like he doesn't know anything about himself, but also trying not to reveal the nature of their relationship. She also doesn't even like tell him that he's a vampire slayer or anything. And one of my favorite parts about this book is Ethel trying to come up with rational explanations for like why they don't like each other, why they're normal people, allegedly, but like happen to be nemesis, why he's really good at fighting and can like do all these things with knives. And it is so funny. Honestly, like this book was so funny. I also really loved Ethel as our main character. She's just so blunt and snarky, but like not in a like a too much kind of way. Do you mind? I don't know if you can hear that, but she like leans on my keyboard and she'll just like do random stuff on my computer. So right now she's just like sitting on the space bar. So we'll just turn the keyboard off for the time being. As I said, I loved Ethel. I loved the dynamic between the two of them, especially because you can tell he is so down bad for her. Like immediately. And at first Ethel's like very taken aback because she's like, oh my god, like you've hated me for so long. Like why are you, you know, like hugging me and saying all these suggestive things to me? And I love that, what's his name? Laszlo with amnesia is just like the real Laszlo. Like obviously he's been feeling these things for a while, but since he has amnesia, he's like finally saying some of these things. Like, oh, it's just such a good premise. I had such a good time. I would read a longer version of this. Oh my god, I would read a longer version of this. It'd be so good. It was only 90 pages. But I want more, and I'm just so happy that I liked it so much, because the last, I can't even tell you how many, like the last, I don't know, 5 or something Ali Hazelwood books that I've read, I haven't really liked, even though there were some books by Ali Hazelwood that I absolutely loved. But like recently her stuff hasn't been working for me really. But Hot for Slayer, I really enjoyed. So there's my good update, my fun update. However, I also did finish Road Trip with a Vampire. And guys, never did I think I'd come on here and tell you that I really actually didn't like this book. Never did I think that Ali Hazelwood would be the one out of the two that knocked it out of the park. You know what I mean? Like this book, I thought like after the first 100 pages it was gonna get so much better. But why did it get so much worse? I'm so sad about it, honestly. I just feel like this wasn't even written by the same author that wrote what's that book called? My Roommate's a Vampire and My Vampire Plus One, because they just feel so different. Like this book was just so honestly like bland and boring, and the other two were just very much not. The first two were very quirky, they were very funny, I liked the characters, I liked the dynamic in the romances a lot, they were just a good time. But this one wasn't even really that funny, and when it was trying to be funny, it just like didn't work for me, and I was like, what happened? I was ready to have a silly goofy time, but it wasn't a silly goofy time. I did like Zelda as her main character. Her whole journey in this book of her forgiving herself for her past mistakes, even though I don't know if I could personally forgive myself for unnecessary arson, but to each their own. If you're like, you know, 1,000 years old or whatever, she might only be like 600 years old, I don't know. You probably have to learn to forgive and forget at some point. But I liked her personal journey that she was going on, but her whole thing with Peter was just so boring. Oh my god, I did not care about the two of them together in the slightest, and Peter was like just still continued to be a cardboard cutout of a man throughout this book. Like, he brought nothing to the table. Literally all we really know about him is that he likes architecture and that he's really fit and hot, and I'm like, you know, that's all well and good, but not for him being the main love interest in a book. I'm like, how am I supposed to, you know, like this man? He brings nothing to the story. I also thought the direction that this book went in was very predictable, and I'm not like, I don't really get that mad if things are predictable, but this one was like so easy. Like from the first 50 pages, you know what's going on. So there wasn't even that like intriguing aspect of like, why, like what happened with his memories and what could they possibly be going to find at the end of this road trip or whatever. Like I knew what was going on, so I was like, why would I want to keep reading for that? I don't know. Their road trip was also very boring, honestly. Like, you know, it took 100 pages for them to go on the road trip. Then they went on a road trip for maybe like 150 to like 200 pages. And then the last 100 pages was just no more road trip. And I'm like, I wanted to have a fun road trip time, but it was only like half of the book. I'm like, don't call the book Road Trip the Vampire if they're not gonna like road trip a little bit more, you know what I mean? There were also, sorry, I just feel like I keep dogging on this book, but like, go read Jenna Levine's other two books. Don't read this one. No offense, but there were also so many pop culture references in this book, and it was getting on my nerves. Zelda's a big Chappell Roan fan, and I'm like, love that for you, girly. Don't put it in the book. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't want to hear about her characters listening to Chappell Roan. Like, it's just too modern of a reference. And it, you know, like there were multiple, like a lot of things like that. And it really does just, it immediately dates the book. It immediately takes me out of the story. I'm like, I want to have a fun time where I'm believing that this witch and this vampire are actually going on a cross-country road trip. But instead they want to be like, oh yeah, remember this real thing that's going on? I'm like, I don't want to remember this real thing that's going on. I'm so sad I didn't like this book. Honestly, this is my least favorite book I've read in the vlog. This is my least favorite book I've read in a while. It was just so boring. And one of the things that I did like about this book, however, though, is that, you know, Reggie made a cameo. Both Reggie and Frederick made cameos in this book. And I wasn't mad about that. I really liked both of them. They're from the first two books in like this little companion series. And I liked seeing them again. Reggie has a really kind of like fun dynamic with Zelda because they've been friends for a really long time and they used to like cause mayhem together back in the day. So seeing them kind of like recount that, I like that. Everything else about this book just disappointed me. Anyway, those are all the updates that I had for the ending of this video. Like I said, a good one and a bad one. Oh, I also do have a movie watching update because I've watched more movies, which I'm now going to be including in all of my videos. So if you don't want to hear about the spooky movies I'm watching this month, I'm so sorry. But I did watch Frankenstein from 1931 2 nights ago. Really liked that one. However, I hated the fact that in the beginning, in the opening title sequence, or like the title credits that are at the beginning of the movie, instead of saying that it was based on a story by Mary Shelley, it said it was based on a story by Mrs. Percy B. Shelley. I was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I know it was the 30s and that's just like how things were done, but I can still be pissed about it because what do you mean? Like, give Mary her credit. She does not deserve that. And then last night I watched Creature from the Black Lagoon, which I also really enjoyed. I think I may be done with my Universal Monster movie watching for a little bit. I definitely have a couple more that I want to watch, but I've watched 3 in a row now, so I feel like I need to watch something different tonight. I don't know, but I'll figure that out later. Don't know what it's gonna be yet, but you know, this is my final movie review. I did read 4 books in this video. Obviously, I would love to know if you guys have read any of the books that I read this week. What did you think about them? Do you have any thoughts, feelings, opinions? Let me know. Or if you haven't read any of these, What have you guys been reading recently? What have you been up to? I'd love to talk with you guys in the comments. Before we go, I would like to thank everybody over on my Patreon. If you're ever looking for more content from me, that is always linked down below. What are we doing this month? We are reading Rebecca for our monthly buddy read. Very excited about that one. And then we also have a 5-day long readathon that starts next week. I think it's next week, next Thursday, called the Haunted Happenings Readathon, which is also going to be very fun. So if you want to come join, you totally can, but you don't have to. But with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you're all having an amazing October so far, and an amazing Monday, or whatever day it is that you're watching this video. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!